All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Empowering Coffee Convos. This is an amazing sector of our Redefining Fabulous podcast. And this is kind of where we have, other people in business come on to just chat about where they're at right now, really kind of discuss and deep dive into some of the things that we're struggling with, because we know you guys are struggling with it too. And if we can be any kind of help or beacon of light for you, that is our ultimate goal. So I am here today with Amy Novick. She's a great friend of mine, and she is a professional organizer. She's a Google certified trainer, and she is the owner of Clutter Care Organizing. Okay, so she is in business to empower business owners with Google solutions and fantastic organization. So she loves teaching everyone about Google tools. I am so excited to have this conversation today because I know from my own experience that you guys are going to have some mind-blowing moments today when you realize how much Google Workspace can do for you. If I could count how many times Amy has told me, you're already paying for that, I might not be in as deep of debt as I'm in right now. But if I am able to bring this to light for you guys and, help you maximize, where you're putting your money, then I feel like I have done my job. So before we get started too deep in here, Amy, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? Maybe just a quick synopsis of kind of who you are and where you are in life right now.
Sure. So I am a mom of two teenage girls. As of last week, I have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. One has ADHD and one has celiac disease, which means she can't eat any gluten. And I found out that I have both of those lovely things. So I'm in it with them. I was an orchestra teacher for 16 years. My husband and I are both musicians, and I have a master's degree in instructional design and education, thus the teaching. And I love to teach, organize, and make music. So,
yes, I love that. And I feel like we're going to dive into that a little bit because I'm really curious about the, kind of entire evolution of that. Fun fact, my word for the year in 2025 is evolve. So if you guys are on the podcast this year or you're listening to the podcast, you are probably going to see and feel a little bit of a common theme happening here this year. And it is truly about, evolving who we are as people as well as in our businesses and as business owners. So I'm really excited to kind of dig a little bit deeper into that. But before we kind of, go too deep, let's talk a little bit about the journey that got you here, because I think that one thing we are really missing in society right now is talking more about the journey to get to where we are or want to go or where we've been. Like it's so easy for us to talk surface level. Like, I've been to China, I've been to Hawaii. Well, tell me how you got there. You didn't just snap your fingers and get there. So I'm really curious to kind of know, how did you get there? How did you get to kind of where you are today?
Absolutely. So I got a music education degree and I taught music for 16 years. But when I'm in the public school, when I was teaching in the public schools, we were using Google as our email system and Google Drive for the students and Google Classroom, which I love to talk about as well, which is where my classes are housed. And so I wanted to learn more about that. And so I had an opportunity. I love tech stuff. So I heard about an opportunity to become a Google certified trainer in 2012. I have one of the first ID numbers as a certified trainer. I'm in the 1000s. So
why does that seem like yesterday and also like forever ago at the same time? Like, why?
Oh,
that hurts. That hurts.
More than 10 years. So I was one of the very first Google certified trainers, and I spent a summer learning, getting tested on every app, making sure I knew all the things. And then every year we have to recertify. So even when I was teaching, I was helping other teachers with Google, and of course my students, and using Google Classroom and all the apps, docs, sheets, slides, all the things. So that's really where I kind of honed all my skills. And then I think 2018, 19, I stepped out of the classroom. That's the year my kids each got diagnosed. I was like, I need a break to figure out how to deal with celiac disease and food and ADHD and moods and starting homework and all the things. So I took a break from teaching, and I really said to myself, well, what is it that I love doing the most of all the things? What can I do aside from teaching, which I love? Turns out my favorite thing to do is sort things. So I can sort paper, I can sort clothing, I can sort digital files, I could sort whatever you want to sort. So that is my favorite thing, which means that professional organizer is right up my alley. And so I started my part-time business while I was not in the classroom trying to figure out what to do. And then, of course, soon thereafter, the pandemic happened. And so I was in home doing paper and home organizing. But when COVID hit, we can't really go into homes. So I met up with a bunch of other professional organizers online and started being a part of those communities online, and quickly learned that there's a bunch of professional organizers that have Google Workspace or a Gmail account and were trying to use Google for their businesses, but did not know what they were doing at all. So therefore, I became known as the Google lady, the Google guru, the whatever. So, so that's how I sort of evolved into being, it's funny because all my friends are like, so are you still teaching? I'm like, that's kind of a trick question, because I am teaching business owners about Google. I am not teaching students about music at the moment, but I am still using my teaching skills, my master's degree, and all of my Google knowledge to help others. So.
Yes. Oh my God, you guys, what an evolution, right? Like what one little tiny shift can do. Not saying that a tiny shift is going to change everything for you, but like being able and being willing to like make a small shift and then kind of seeing what happens there, and then taking another small shift and seeing what happens there. And like, I have known Amy now for a couple of years. How I met her is a whole nother funny story. I can link that podcast episode in the show notes because it's actually a really funny story. But I just think it is so cool that I've been able to watch her evolve. And as I'm hearing this backstory, I don't think I ever really fully knew how she evolved into the Amy she was when I met her. And now seeing how she went from like the middle to here, and then like now knowing how she came from here to the middle, like this is just awesome. It's amazing. And I think that it's really, really something to take to heart that like Amy didn't just stop everything what she was doing and like completely start over. She, took a step back, and like she said, she wanted to figure out like, what do I enjoy doing the most? Like, what layers can I shed in order to become whoever I need to become to take on the next chapter? So that's a really, really, really beautiful story of evolution. And I absolutely, I love that. And it's really painful right now to think about those years, because I've been using Google Workspace for over 10 years, but not really using Google Workspace at all. So this is really good topic, because for those of you who don't know, we actually ran a summit back in September for entrepreneurs, and Amy was actually a guest speaker to talk a lot about time management and just organization in general. And the feedback that we got from that summit, from those particular sections, were like so crazy. Like, people want to know more about this organizational stuff. They want to know more about how they can, make Google Workspace work for them. And so I'm really excited to have this topic of conversation, because I know that it's going to help so many freaking people. So let's kind of dive into Google Workspace a little bit. In like a short explanation, how would you describe the evolution of Google Workspace in the last 10 years, right? Like, or however many years. I don't want to count how many years it was. It seemed like a lot more than that. But like, let's just say from when you first got Google certified to now, how would you kind of describe the evolution of the Google brand?
That is a great question. I feel like, it definitely started as a search engine, right? Like, Google it, search it up. So that's one thing. The way I like to think about it is that Google, the company, runs on Google. So, right, they use Google Workspace in their business. So, if you think about all the things that a business needs, they look to their internal people to build that for themselves into their system, right?
Yes.
So they all the tools that we need, and all if I mean if they don't have it, they will find somebody to build it. So I kind of feel like we forget that they're using it, and that's that's where all the innovation comes from in their company. Is they're like, hey, I need it to do XYZ, and then one of their people builds it. Google is also one of those companies that gives their people, I think it's like 20% of their time to do creative projects, and that's where a lot of things come from internally. And also a bunch of the apps that we now know as standard probably started as somebody's pet project in
Yes.
Google.
What a like teaching moment right there, I mean, like, we know so many big brands who have evolved over the years, but like, knowing that big companies utilize internally to kind of grow, and that gives us the kind of validation that like we can do the same. Maybe we don't have 1 million employees to like do that kind of an internal, but we do have communities, we do have client bases, and we should be using that. And I think that I'm not trying to compare any of us to Google, because that would just be a silly thing to do. But I'm curious what your thoughts are on what apps were available back then versus what's available now, because I think it's wild.
It is totally wild. As I'm looking at my screen full of apps that I have here, I was like, oh yeah, I should talk about some of these. So I will say that some of the newer ones, I mean, I will not newer, even like the fringe ones, and maybe I'll show my screen in a second, but like, so Google Business Profile probably was not a initial thing, right? There was Google on, like, you found a business on a map, but now
Yeah.
Google Business Profile and Maps are merged; they're connected.
That just happened really recently too, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So right, so those things work together. Long ago, Google did not own YouTube, but they do now. And so it's the top two search engines are in the same company, right?
Yeah.
So that's huge. Classroom has been there for a long time. People don't know Google Sites exists, and there's that. So you can make a site. I would say Blogger has been around a long time, and actually somebody was surprised that it still exists. But Blogger is there, and it's a Google thing.
I never knew that.
You can do a blog on Blogger. It's connected to your account. It's right there. Of course, they have Google Meet has evolved, and Meet and Chat are kind of two of their. Meet is their Zoom or video conferencing, and Chat is their internal messaging system. So what's the like Slack? So it's, if you have a Google account and you're in Google, then you can message back and forth. So that exists.
Is the chat only within your organization, or is that with anybody?
Anybody.
Okay.
Yep. You can chat across. Correct. And then the other thing I like to remind people, and people think about it, but they don't really think about it. When you're making your website, Google Analytics is part of Google, and it feeds the algorithms when they're searching things, but it's working in the back end of your website. So if you have a website, you should have Google Analytics attached. So,
and that's if you guys have a Google site or any site. Like, that is not a Google. I will say, as a web designer, that is something that I am familiar with, but I was surprised how many people were not familiar with it. How many people did not have any of this data from not knowing that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So definitely. Can I share my screen for just a second?
Yeah, you should be able to, and then it should put us in a demo screen.
Will that work? Can you see?
Let's see here.
Oh, there we go. Cool.
There we go. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so I'll do this really quick. But so these to me are the core of the system. I call it the core apps, the Gmail, Calendar, and Drive. And notice the little search in the middle, because you can search in almost any of the apps because it's Google's search engine, right?
Yeah.
So it's important. Google Chrome kind of holds it all together, and I need to talk more about that in 2025 because people don't use it well enough. And then if we add the next layer, those four are kind of like the Microsoft Office, but
Ooh,
it's
yeah.
inside of Google Drive. So you don't need more software. It just is part of Google Drive. So those are really
Which is
important.
huge for us Mac people, because I remember in college and like after college how annoyed I was that like we had to like buy Microsoft. Like we had to buy all that shit because that was not a Mac. And back then, now most Microsoft stuff is compatible-ish with the Mac software that is the same type of thing. But for a long time it was not. And I never really like thought about this, that I had access to it all along.
Yeah, it's right here. It's in there. And I will say, speaking of evolving, one of the things Google has done very well is now it is compatible with Microsoft documents, sheets, slides, all of it. And you can either just house them in your Google Drive, like Microsoft Files, just house them in there to save them as a storage spot, or Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides can actually open those files now and edit them. So
Yes.
you do not need all the software. So that's huge. So there's that. And then if I go to the next round, round of
For
things.
those of you listening in and not watching, I'm going to make sure I put the YouTube link in the show notes here because I would highly suggest going to this. But I'm also, Amy, do you think that we could get like a screenshot of this that I could also maybe, yeah. Okay. So if you are listening to the podcast and you really need to see this visual, head into the show notes and either, take the link to go watch us in YouTube or to download this because this is an amazing visual representation of this. Okay, continue.
Thank you. So this is my sorting, organizing, and teaching all smushed together. So I will say that there are two organizing things in here. Well, Google Photos is in here, and Google Keep and Tasks. That's a video for 2025. Google Keep and Google Tasks are sort of task management things we can talk about later. Those are two things in here. I already said Meet and Chat are up there. But then the other two are Google Voice, which you can have a business line. And if you don't answer the phone, it will, and somebody leaves you a message, it will leave you an email in your email. So it will transcribe it, dump it right into your inbox. So Google Voice is an option for business owners. And then Contacts is a huge one. People do not know that Google Contacts is running in the background. So when you're typing an email and it populates that name, like I start typing Jessi and your email pops up, it's because it's pulling from Google Contacts. Like it has stored that information in the background and it's pulling it. But that means that you can go into Google Contacts and either upload stuff or edit the things that are wrong or merge contacts that you have 5 of or whatever. So Google Contacts, literally nobody knows it's there, but it's huge. It's important. And it will feed into something else we'll talk about later. So
yes. Okay. Is there any more, or is that the end of? Okay. I was gonna say I feel like
more.
there's maybe one more like layer to this.
More.
Woo!
I know all the fringe stuff around the edge. So we have the hexagon is not fringe. It's the admin panel is the blue hexagon. So if you have Gmail, just an @Gmail account, you don't have an admin panel. If you are paying for a Google Workspace somehow, or you're a nonprofit or education, you get it for free. But that admin panel is like your own IT department for your business. So that's a whole different conversation. YouTube is in there. Google Groups is in there, which can be used for emailing and lots of things. Google Classroom is in there. And on the other side, we have sort of your marketing end of things with the Google Business Profile, Google Sites, Blogger, and Analytics. So that is all in there, and I'm still missing some.
I was going to say, I mean, like, I feel like that's still probably not everything, and it's definitely not including things that are in the pipeline for Google in 2025.
No, this is what's here, yeah.
So there's a lot.
there's a ton.
There's
There's
a lot.
still more that I don't even know about and I can't even use, but there's a ton. So just know like, well, what can I do with my business, right? There's just so many. And because this is like a lot, and I still like to start from the core and work my way out, but the last slide, and I'll send all of these to you.
This is fantastic. This is exactly how the me type brain, this is how Jessi understands things.
Correct.
Okay, guys. So
Vertical.
like, if you feel like you relate to me on any, on any level, you guys need to go download these screenshots because this is exactly how I learn.
Yeah. So we're going to go from the left to the right. If you need to buy and set up your workspace, then you got to make sure you know how to use the core system. Then we talk about the tools in Drive. It's kind of the same, but it works a little, it's a little more visually simple. And then connecting is like your media and marketing kind of, and then there's actual marketing to the outer people. And then how to stay organized. And then of course, more stuff.
So what I think is fantastic, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is this almost roadmap-ish? I mean, this is fantastic. This is exactly how I love to like set things up when we do multiple things as business owners. We know it's kind of chaotic, but we also know what we're doing. So we're kind of like, nobody else needs to know. But the reality is your clients do need to know. They need to understand. And building a roadmap is one of the easiest ways to like truly bring your client on the journey that they may or may not embark on. And this visual that she has up right now is a fantastic way for me to, it's broken up too. So it's like, okay, I can deal with 4 things at a time. Like I can deal with like just this part. And then when I get this part done, now I'm ready to jump to the next part. And then when that part gets done, we're ready to jump to the next part. And you know, how many of us as business owners are so guilty of trying to get to the last column, right? And she's raising her hand, so am I. Like, we are so obsessed with like the end that we forget about the middle. And then what happens is we get to the end and we're like, oh, cool, but like, how do I do this? And you're like, well, if you would have gone in order, you would have learned this on the second phase and you wouldn't be at phase 10 yet. And oh my God, this is so good. If you are listening and you are not watching, make sure you head to the show notes to get this document because this is fantastic. Amy, is this also like that graphic? Is that how you kind of work with your clients as a roadmap and as a kind of explaining to them the order and direction of things they need to work on?
Well, I definitely like to start. In 2025. I mean, so yes to some degree, but I want to do sort of my own, like you said, roadmap and more of a checklist for me to make sure that they have started at the beginning and they do understand the core system and they do know how to use the, Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, and Forms, because we need those for our business. So I kind of, instead of a roadmap necessarily, I feel like it's more of like a checklist to see where their holes are. Like they know how to use Docs, but they didn't use Forms. Or, they're using Gmail every day, but they forgot to set up their Chrome profiles. So, I do want to go back to the beginning and make sure that they're all, set up the right way. But also I get people coming to me, like you said, I need step 8. Could we please just start there? And I'm like, well, we can aim for that, but we're going to have to back up and make sure you didn't miss anything between the beginning and 8, So yeah, I mean, it's more of I don't want to say a checklist, but like let's make sure you've got everything to get you from here to there. If that's your goal, yes, let's just make sure there are no gaping holes in the middle. So
yeah. I mean, this is so fantastic to hear because I feel like me and Amy are very much on the same kind of mission in 2025 of really kind of like helping people focus on making sure that the basics are strong, that the foundations are built before you go and try to fly the plane. Because if you if you don't know what all the buttons mean and you don't know, you didn't go to flying school and, whatever, like you're going to crash the goddamn plane. I don't want to be on a plane. Like, no, you may not pay me to get on the plane that you do not know how to fly. I think it's just so important, and I'm so passionate about making sure that people understand how important the letters are between A and Z. I mean, there are just so many things. We've got to stop focusing on like these destinations that we build in our mind. Like, we've got to focus on the things that we learn along the way. I love this. Me and Amy are so in sync for 2025.
Love it.
Fun fact about that is that if you guys have not heard yet, that we opened a free community for action-focused entrepreneurs. It is called the Spark Society. And if you are not a part of it yet, head on over to joinsparksociety.com and join us in this community. Amy is one of the founding members, and she is actually going to be a guest speaker at least one time this year. I would guess maybe once a quarter. She's got so much amazing knowledge to share with us that if you are feeling like you're vibing with this Google stuff and you're like, oh my God, yes, I need more help with this, go to www.joinsparksociety.com and join us in there. It's totally free to join in the community. We have monthly meetups, and we do additional like workshops and summits and challenges and all of those things. So head on over to do that, because like we would love to see you in there. Okay, so when it comes to Google and all of these pretty shiny objects, Amy, what are your top 3? I know this is going to be hard for you. What are your top 3, like, I don't know if I want to go the route of favorite or like most useful. I'm going to go with most useful. Okay. So what are the 3 like top most useful apps within Google, like from running your business?
Oh, from running your business. Okay. I was going to say, okay. Running your business.
Outside of like mail. I'm not worried about email. That's like, that to me is not a thing.
No. So I will say that I did a class over this summer, and I'm working on doing this class again, but basically how to use the contacts that I talked about, plus email templates and layouts, which do exist. And there is a mail merge function. So you can actually do your email marketing from your Gmail if you want.
All I'm hearing are like dollar signs, like going, like just flying away.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you can definitely mail merge, and of course it's Google, so they do comply with the new rules about unsubscribe. So if you do it the right way and you've got your email set up the right way, then your people will get an unsubscribe button, which is now required, and they can unsubscribe. And next time you send out that email to the mass emails to the same list, it will not send it to the people who have unsubscribed.
Yes. And guys, email marketing is a whole nother topic for another day, and I promise that will be at least one other episode. But yes, there are so many laws and regulations and all of the things about that. Okay, so
that's kind of like one. It's like one stack.
Yeah.
Right? Contacts, templates, layouts, and mail merge kind of all together is one tool to do your email marketing. So there's that. The other one is, for getting yourself seen and noticed, is Google Business Profiles, because it's search engine foundable, right, findable. And then the other one would be YouTube, because I have learned, I've worked really hard this year. Put out one video every week. And now I have over 2,000 followers, over 4,000 hours of watched video time. And that is my main place where I'm actually getting clients from at this point.
Yes. So, can I unpack that really quick? Can I like stop this conversation right here for a second and like unpack that?
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And it sounds awesome. Can you tell us about the journey of that though? Can you tell us like what sucked and what like was hard and what like struggle you had with that? Because that is not an easy feat to do something like that. So can we unpack that and not make it look so shiny?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been working for 18 months really hard on that. The first 6 were not awesome, was not consistent. So my goal for 2024 was to put out one video a week. And I have worked really hard at batching the videos in groups of 4, so I can do 1 month of it at a time. Now, I will tell you that I've done really well at recording 4 videos at a time, but editing them and pushing them out to social media and all the other things, not so easy to batch. I mean, I've tried, doesn't always work. I have unlimited amount of topics I'd love to talk about. So, and I always get stuff from clients, right? I'm having a client call and they're like, how do you do blah, blah. And I write that down quick. I'm like, oh, next week's video, right? So always getting client topics or topics from clients is really fun. And I enjoy that because that's the teacher in me. And I'm like, clearly they're not the only person that has had that question. So
yes, bingo.
and I do not
That's
want
huge.
to repeat myself. And the awesome part is that because I don't want to repeat myself, now that I have those videos out there and somebody asks me the same question, I'm like, hey, just go watch this video.
Yes. So much yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I
That
don't
is
have to waste my
2025 for me right there.
time. Yeah. So it is excellent. So learning different software has been challenging, right? Recording software, editing software, that's tricky. Good thing my husband's a really good video editor. My 11-year-old daughter was doing a lot of it too. Some of it, some Canva stuff. Like there's so many pieces and parts. Making my checklists has been challenging, and then just making sure that I do all the things. And of course, time blocking for it is always a challenge. So the idea is great at the front end, and then, the execution takes a lot of work and, what's the word? Grit is the word I'm thinking of, right? Like, I just have to get the video out, like get it out, consistency. So
Progress over perfection. Like I'm on that train this year of like, just get it out. I can always go back and re-record it if I really think that it's really bad, but more than likely I'm going to move on to the next topic and it's going to be fine.
Exactly.
I want to know a little bit of like, how much harder was it than you thought it was going to be?
That's a great question. The teacher in me can write the bulk of the content of the video in no time flat. I'm like, oh, I know these are the 3 to 5 points I'm going to talk about. I know in my mind the screenshots I want to put in there. That's cool. For me, it's not coming from a marketing background. It's figuring out the keywords, the title, the hook, the emotional connection with the clients, like with the audience, and making that hook. So I've actually gone back to some of the things we talked about in the Empower workshop, right? I've delved more into ChatGPT since that workshop, because I'm better with a starting point.
Same.
I can edit.
That's the ADHD in me right there. It's like, just give me something.
Exactly. Right.
Something.
So I can throw a bunch of keywords in there. It'll spit out a couple things, and then I can tweak it as needed. So for me, the content of the video is not hard. It's the front end hook, and it's and now the sales funnel. Okay, well, where am I going to link it to that's going to be helpful for them and get them into my, ecosystem of stuff in my sales funnel? So the beginning and end are really hard. The content is fine. So
yeah.
For me,
and I think that's what most people overlook. They have this idea and they're like, well, all I have to do is make a video and put it out there. And you're like, bitch, there is so much more to it than just making a video and putting it out there. Like, so much more. Like, you have to go through ideation. You have to go through creation. You have to go through execution. Then you have to, you truly have to have, in order to make things quote easy, right? And easy is such a vague term, but I mean, like, to make things smooth, let's say, you got to build out that SOP. And if you don't have the SOP or the checklist to go through every single time, it's hard. It's really hard. It is nothing like just recording a video and putting it out there. Like, nothing.
Literally, recording the video takes the least amount of time of anything.
It was the same when I was a wedding photographer. People were like, "Man, your life is so great. All you have to do is show up one day a week." And I'm like, "Whoa, you better back the fuck up, because the wedding day is the easiest part of this entire process." So like, that's the fun day. Stay in your lane and talk about what you know, because you don't know this. Oh man,
totally same. Yeah. So that definitely has been challenging. And slight side story, but not really. This
is the ADHD in us, guys.
Right?
Sidetrack, squirrel, shiny object.
Well, yeah, but so the ADHD, right? So my daughter, we were driving up for Thanksgiving to Madison, Wisconsin, and my daughter's like, "So how long does it take to make a YouTube video?" And I was like, and she's she loves math. So she's like, "Well, how many hours for this and how many hours for that?" And I start like listing stuff. And then as I'm driving and she's writing on her, putting it on like a note in her phone, I'm like, wait, I forgot about this step. Oh, don't forget this, add that before this one and add this and that's add it. And by the time she was like, after half an hour, she's like, Mom, this is a lot of hours. I'm like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it took us the whole 2 hours of us driving up there and me talking it out and her adding up the hours. And by the time we got there, I had the whole list top to bottom. And she was like, this is a lot of hours, Mom. And I tried to do it for the batch of 4 hours or the 4 videos together. Like, how much time did it take me to do 4 videos, 4 of everything? It's way too much time. I'll tell you now. So one of my goals is streamlining and paring back, and like, done is better than perfect.
Yes.
Like, so that's all of that for the whole SOP for this year. Like, just get it out there.
Yes. And I highly suggest anyone who's listening that is like, yes, I spend so much time and I don't even realize it in the moment because I like doing it, right? Like you're kind of, but then you realize, you look back and you're like, not only that, but then you have to like try to sell what you're doing and people don't understand the amount of time that goes into it. And it just is like a really slippery slope. So like if you're listening and you kind of relate to that, I would challenge you in the new year to really kind of focus on simplifying a little bit, really kind of like take a step back. Because if you are anything like me, because I feel like I attract my tribe, right? So if you are anything like me, you overcomplicate the shit out of everything, period. Like, I'm sorry, I said what I said. It probably hurt, but I'm right. And I really challenge you in this new year to take a step back and really kind of pay attention to how can I simplify this? Am I overcomplicating this? Am I making this harder than it needs to be? Am I being way too perfectionist over something that doesn't freaking matter?
FYI, my whole household is like that. I got 4 of those in my house. All of us.
Misery loves company. Man. That I feel like the whole ADHD thing's a really great topic that we should touch on at some point.
Yeah, we can. I was gonna say, we can go there right now. If you want.
You know what? Let's head back to Google. Guys, I'm going to make an ADHD topic. Like, we're going to talk just about ADHD in business in general. Maybe we'll even make it a group call because I got a couple other people, too, that I know are, like, my people when it comes to this. But for the sake of this episode, let's head back to Google for a second here. Okay? Yeah. So let's kind of go back and kind of talk. You talked about kind of, what ones that you like. But what do you think are the most overlooked apps in the Google Workspace? Like, what do you find that people like most oftenly don't know exists?
Well, so Google Tasks is definitely one of them, and that relates to the thing we were just talking about and the ADHD. Mm-hmm. And I would say, well, Google Sites also. There's some little, I don't want to say little issue with Google Sites, but Google Sites you can make for free. It's a website. You can make it inside of your Google Drive and connect it to your domain, and it's just there. Like, you don't have to pay for it. So I would not say that everyone should use a Google site. I would say if you're just starting out and you need a landing page or you need something where you can send people, Google Sites is awesome. It does not have a ton of bells and whistles, but it is definitely functional for somebody starting out. Later, if you need more things, you can move to another platform and
evolve.
Redo it or whatever.
You can evolve later.
Exactly.
Start now, evolve later.
Exactly. Done is better than perfect. So, like, I literally had this conversation with my husband the other day because he is starting a new thing in 2025. And I was like, do you want me to build you a site? And he was like, oh. And he is a website designer. I learned everything from him. And he was like, you want to build me a Google site? And he has all this, grand ideas in his head, which is lovely for 2 years from now. But if we were at a convention yesterday and he wants to tell people to go find him, he literally doesn't have a website. I'm like, all you needed was one Google page. Like, come on. Mm-hmm. So, like, it's a great starting place and it's free. Like, so literally all you have to pay for is your domain name. So go for it. So that's one thing. And then back to the other, I said tasks. So when you open a Google account, whether it's a Gmail account or a Google Workspace, without doing anything else, you have 2 calendars on your calendar. You have your name is your calendar associated with your Google account, and you have tasks. And nobody knows that that is Google Tasks. That is the same as the Tasks app. There's a million ways to use that Tasks app. I have a couple of videos on this and a class, but you can add tasks from your phone, you can add tasks from your email, from a Google Doc, from your calendar. Like, you can just put all your tasks in there and it's fine. So those of us that need to see everything like layered on our calendar, Google Tasks will show up on your calendar when you need to do them if you do it right. So Google Tasks, people just don't know that it's there and don't know how to use it. So
I was September of 2024 years old when I learned that. Fun fact about that too, is that task follows you until you do it. Like all of a sudden my day had like 6 tasks, and I realized it was because it blocks. Well, I mean, like whatever you said you were going to do last week, it fucking follows you until you do it. And you know what? That's exactly what I need. So I'm like incredibly grateful for that. But I was kind of like, where has this been all my life?
Right. Exactly. So yeah, so I would say Google Sites and Google Tasks are 2 of the things that people just don't know exist. But they're built in right in there, no problem at all. So
Yeah, that's amazing. And what we'll do, because Amy, do you have classes for both of those topics?
I have some videos on sites. I'm working on a Google Sites DIY Google Sites class. Not ready yet, but I'm working on it. The tasks is like a 30-minute class, and you can definitely get that on my site.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and link those things in the show notes for you guys, so that if you guys are feeling like, oh my God, yes, I need this in my life, which FYI, you do. I will leave that link in the show notes for you guys so that you guys can head over onto that and, kind of get in the now. Like, get the most out of your freaking Google Workspace, because, like, man, they keep jacking up the price, and I keep wondering why, and it's really because I have no idea what actually exists in there.
Oh, and so you want me to tell you one more?
Yeah.
Okay, one more. It's kind of 2, but it's really 1. Please do not buy more Google accounts than you have people. So,
like users?
Yeah. So I don't know how many people, I mean, so many of my clients they're like, oh, well, I need an info ad, and I need a sales ad, and I need a whatever it is ad. It's fine, but you don't need an account for that. And 2 things. There are 2 ways to do that. 1, so best practice is you have an account per person, because then you know who is logging into what, right? And it's a security issue. So that's fine. And if it's just Jessi, then we can give her an alias or a nickname called info at, and it can go right to her inbox. And we can filter, and we can do all sorts of fancy things, but you don't need another account. You don't need to pay for another account for info at. It can be a nickname. So that's 1. The other is a group inbox or Google Groups for business. Same thing, but it can go to multiple people. So if I have a sales team, I can have a group called sales at blah, 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 and it can forward to multiple people. So again, I don't need another account. You don't have to pay for that. It's a free group. It's like
And when it forwards to other people, do those people have to be in your domain?
No.
Oh, you guys, my mind is blowing right now. I have so many things I want to say and ask, but I'm not gonna, because we could be here for hours. But like, that's huge.
Yes. People set up everything all wrong because they don't know that they can have nicknames, and they don't know they can have groups. And so a lot of my clients are me untangling the mess that they've made and putting it back the way it should have been in the first place.
Another lesson of foundations, you guys, trying to jump to step 5 without understanding steps 1 through 4. I am calling you out, but I'm also calling myself out. Like, I don't think I'm sitting here on a pedestal. Like, guys, what are you doing? Like, guys, I'm looking at myself in the mirror. Technically, I'm talking to myself on the screen, and I'm like telling myself, yo, what's wrong with you? I'm calling you out. But guys, like, we've got to stop obsessing over like getting farther faster, because when we go farther faster, the farther we got to come back when something goes wrong, and then we got to go back forwards. Like, why can't we just all be patient little people and do things in the right order? Like,
right.
Ooh.
So one of my favorite clients called me the other, I don't know, like 2 months ago, and she was like, Amy, I was gonna do XYZ, but I stopped myself and I called you first because I didn't want to mess it up.
And that right there is the power of branding, because they knew and had Amy at the forefront that she knew what the hell she was doing, and she educated them into knowing that they shouldn't go to step 5 without doing steps 1 through 4. That right there is the power of building a powerful and impactful brand. She has already educated and changed the actions of other entrepreneurs because she's educating them. So I applaud you for that, because I think that's fantastic. I love that you're kind of on the same mission to really educate people on the foundations, because like, I don't know about y'all, but like, I'm tired of having to go backwards in order to go forwards, right? Like, I'm tired of that, and I know you are too. Okay, so before we wrap stuff up, so I want to know, outside of Google, just as like a fellow entrepreneur, outside of Google, do you have any other types of resources that, you know, you either love or, you know, that help you stay organized or on track with things?
Yeah, definitely. So I use QuickBooks for all the accounting. Now I use something else. My CRM does the invoicing, but it talks to QuickBooks.
Yeah.
So I will say, to that end, like, make sure you pick things that integrate with each other so that you have to do less work, right? So there's that. QuickBooks, and I do have a CRM, and I only grabbed the CRM after I couldn't handle all the follow-ups myself, right? So if you're starting really small, you can do a bunch in Google, you're fine. But once you hit the point where you can't follow up with everybody, or you need more automation, then you need a CRM. So there's that. I would say, as far as the YouTube and social media stuff, the 2 things I use all the time are, actually 3 things now that I think about it. Canva to make graphics. Metricool is what I'm currently using to schedule things out in multiple places on multiple platforms very easily. And then Descript is what I'm using to edit videos, because I'm a visual and I want to see the words, and you can actually edit the text, and then it will take the video out. So
Nice.
yeah, so
Nice.
I'm much better with that. So those would be my 3.
Yes. I love those. And I think it's important that we're all, you know, like, we're all like open about the fact that just because she's a Google expert doesn't mean that she is pigeonholing herself to like only using Google products. You know, like, she obviously is very passionate about them and is very passionate about making sure we know what the hell we're paying for, because like most of us have no idea. But it's important to know that, like, just because everyone's doing one thing doesn't mean that we have to like follow suit and like only do those things. Like, it's time to nix that stigma. It's time to like do our own thing and just like literally be our own freaking people. All right. Amen. 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 Amen.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So as we wrap this up, you know, I got to always ask the burning question that we ask in every single episode, because this is truly the core foundation of why I started this podcast. And it was to, you know, really empower people to be able to create their own definition of success. I'm done being successful by anyone else's terms other than my own. Okay. I've gotten to the point where, you know, I've hit 7 figures. I've hit a certain amount of clients. I've done those things, and I don't feel like they served me. I don't feel like I was doing them for the right reasons. I was doing them because it's what I thought I was supposed to do. 2025, look out, because I ain't doing that shit no more. But Amy, what would you define being successful as? I'm very curious on your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it's, I'm a teacher, and a lifelong learner. So I love helping others. And I love helping others do a couple things. I love when people figure out what they're best at and what their strengths are, and play to those strengths. And that goes for business owners as well, right? I want to teach them. I like seeing the light bulbs go off, but also if they don't want to do that repeatedly and it's going to, make them want to pull their hair out, just because they know how to do it or that it can be done doesn't mean that they need to do it all the time. So also taking things off the plates of those people that, like, what I love in Google, I'll just do it if you want me to, and let you do what you're really, really good at, right? So knowing our strengths and playing to those strengths is how I love to help. I love to be successful that way, and I love to help other people be successful that way. So
yes, there is nothing better than watching the transformations kind of happening right in front of you and feeling that impact that, you just made, whether it was a tiny, like, you could think it was like this tiny thing and it could be a huge thing for them. And I think just kind of realizing that no matter how we help people, no matter big or small in our mind, that is still helping people and is still a step in the right direction. So I love that. I love that. Oh my God, you guys, we will hear from Amy a lot this year because there's just so much to unpack. But if you guys are, loving this topic and you guys are kind of vibing with our ADHD vibes, Amy, what is the best way for people to find you and to get in touch with you? Outside of like the classroom. So I will drop the link in the show notes for your classroom. She does have an amazing library of different courses and things to learn more about Google. But what's the best way for someone to connect with you? If they just really want to let us know, other than the YouTube comments, feel free to like and subscribe and leave us a comment below. There you go. But where else can they directly connect with you?
Yeah, so on YouTube, I'm at Clutter Care, and then so find my channel there and all my free resources. And then my website is cluttercare.net, and there's a contact page if you want to get a hold of me. That's the best place.
Yes, perfect. I will leave all of the links in the show notes for you guys so they are easy access. If you guys have any questions, if you love this episode, please let us know in the comments below. If you have something else particular that you would love to hear us talking about, let us know in the comments or send us a DM on social media. But Amy, thank you so much for coming and chatting with me today. I know I'll see you again soon. And for everybody out there, I will chat with you guys